Good evening, my friends. Tonight I want to address something that I see destroying more manifestations than doubt, more dreams than fear, and more possibilities than disbelief combined. It is the desperate, anxious, violent energy of forcing. Perhaps you are listening to me now and you feel a certain weariness, a spiritual exhaustion. You have done everything I have taught you to do. You have affirmed, you have visualized, you have walked in the assumption of your wish fulfilled as best you know how. And yet your desire remains at a distance. Perhaps it even feels further away now than when you first began. Maybe it is money that seems to slip through your fingers no matter how tightly you grasp. A relationship that refuses to blossom, no matter how hard you chase. A career that feels stuck, no matter how desperately you push. You chase and it flees. You push and it resists. You tighten your grip and it dissolves like smoke between your fingers. What if I told you that the very effort you are applying is the only thing standing in your way? That the immense energy you are using to force your desire into being is the very reason it has not yet arrived? Tonight we will explore this delicate and most powerful art, the art of allowing. I will show you why letting go is not the same as giving up, but is in fact the highest form of faith. And I will teach you what to do instead of forcing, to finally let what you desire come to you as effortlessly and naturally as the sun rises in the morning. To understand why your intense effort may be failing you, you must first understand a strange and wonderful paradox that I have taught for years. When your will and your imagination are in conflict, your imagination will always win. The harder you try to consciously force a state with your will, while your imagination is convinced of its opposite, the more you amplify the very state you are trying to escape. Think of it like this. Imagine you are holding a cork underwater. The more you push it down, the more you feel its powerful urge to rise. The pressure builds, your effort increases, and the moment you release even slightly, it shoots to the surface with tremendous force. Your feeling of lack, your deep-seated belief that you do not have your desire, that is the cork. Your frantic effort is the force holding it down, constantly reminding you of its buoyancy, of its reality in your world. Let me tell you about a woman who came to me last year. She had been trying to manifest a specific amount of money for 6 months. Every day she visualized. Every night she affirmed. Every moment she tried to feel wealthy. But the money did not come. In fact, her financial situation was getting worse. Neville, she said, I'm doing everything you teach. I'm visualizing constantly. I'm affirming all day long. I'm forcing myself to feel abundant even when my bank account is empty. Why isn't it working? I watched her as she spoke, and I could see the tension in her body, hear the strain in her voice, feel the desperate energy radiating from her. She was like a coiled spring, wound so tight she was about to break. I said to her, my dear, you are not feeling abundant. You are forcing yourself to pretend you feel abundant. And there is a universe of difference between the two. Every time you force yourself to feel wealthy while your entire being screams, I am poor, you are actually reinforcing your poverty. You are broadcasting the frequency of lack with every strained affirmation. She looked confused. So I explained. You must understand that every feeling you entertain radiates a specific frequency. It is a broadcast. The frequency of lack is charged with anxiety, impatience, and the frantic energy of need. The frequency of fulfillment is one of peace, satisfaction, and quiet gratitude. Your effort, born of strain and force, is simply a prolonged broadcast of the frequency of lack. Think of the biblical story of Peter attempting to walk upon the water. As long as his attention was fixed upon his goal, upon the Master, he did the impossible. He defied the laws of the physical world. But the moment he looked away, the moment he saw the winds and the waves, the facts of his three-dimensional reality, doubt entered his mind. He began to sink, and in that moment of fear he began to try. He began to force himself to stay afloat, to fight against the evidence of his senses. And the more he struggled against the storm, the faster he sank. His success came from a state of calm assumption. His failure came from a state of effort born of fear. That story is your story. Your desire is the Master calling to you. The winds and the waves are the doubts and contradictory facts of your current life. To struggle with them, to force against them, is to sink. Forcing is an admission to yourself that you are not in the state of the wish fulfilled. For if you truly were the person who had your desire, would you be struggling to obtain it? Would you be fighting for it? Would you be anxiously checking for signs of its arrival? No. You would be at peace. You would feel a quiet confidence. The feeling would be natural, effortless, as simple as breathing. So you see, the goal is not to try harder. The goal is to feel it differently. To feel it as normal, as simple, as natural as the air you breathe. So then, how does one cultivate this feeling of naturalness? How does one move from the violent energy of forcing to the quiet confidence of allowing? It is not accomplished by a grand single action, but by a series of subtle internal shifts. Let me share them with you now. The first shift is from getting to being. Your true work is not to acquire the thing you desire. It is to become, in imagination, the person who already has it. If you desire wealth, you do not spend your day anxiously chasing money, desperately trying to force abundance into your life. Instead, you ask yourself, what would my inner conversations be like if I were already wealthy? How would I see the world? What assumptions would I hold as true? How would I move through my day? Then you begin to think from that state. You are no longer a poor person wanting wealth. You are a wealthy person simply living your life. The difference is subtle but profound. I remember a businessman who came to me struggling with this exact issue. He had been trying to manifest a major business deal for months. Every day he visualized the contract signing. Every night he affirmed his success. But the deal kept slipping away. I asked him, "When you visualize this deal, what are you feeling?" He said honestly, "I feel desperate. I need this deal. Without it, my business might fail. So I'm forcing myself to see it happening. Forcing myself to believe it will work out." "There is your problem," I told him. "You are visualizing from the state of a desperate man who needs a deal to survive. But a successful businessman who has closed major deals before does not feel desperate. He feels confident, calm, assured. You must become that man in your imagination, not try to force that man into existence through strain and effort." I taught him to stop visualizing the moment of getting the deal, and instead to simply assume he was already the kind of businessman for whom such deals were natural and normal. To think from success rather than about success. Within 3 weeks, not only did that deal close, but 2 other unexpected opportunities appeared. He had stopped forcing and started allowing by becoming the person who naturally attracted such success. The second shift is understanding what it truly means to live in the end. Many of you have been taught that living in the end means constant, effortful visualization. It does not. Living in the end is a state of satisfaction. Think of how you feel after a wonderful meal. You do not continue to stare at the menu anxiously, hoping for food to arrive. You do not force yourself to feel full while your stomach is empty. You are satisfied. You are at peace. The meal is finished. That quiet satisfaction, that inner knowing that it is done, that is the true feeling of the wish fulfilled. Your imaginal act, your brief scene, implying your desire is fulfilled. That is the meal. And satisfaction is the state you must carry throughout your day. I knew a woman who wanted to marry a particular man. For months she visualized their wedding over and over again, multiple times per day, forcing herself to see every detail, straining to make it feel real. But he showed no signs of proposing. In fact, their relationship seemed to be growing more distant. When she came to me, I asked her, "After you finish visualizing your wedding, how do you feel?" She said, "I feel anxious that it hasn't happened yet. I feel worried that I'm not doing it right. I feel desperate to do it again to make sure it works." I explained to her that these feelings were the problem. You are treating your imaginal act like a task you must perform perfectly and repeatedly. But the imaginal act is meant to produce a feeling of satisfaction, the feeling that it is already done. Once you have felt that satisfaction, you should be able to rest in it like a person who has eaten a good meal. I taught her to do her imaginal scene once, at night before sleep, and then to simply carry the satisfied feeling throughout her day. To feel like a woman who was already engaged, already loved, already claimed. Not to force this feeling, but to gently assume it as her natural state. Within 2 months he proposed. She had stopped forcing the outcome and started allowing it by resting in the satisfaction of the wish fulfilled. The third shift is discovering the secret of present moment fulfillment. All desperation springs from the feeling that something is missing now. The remedy is to feel fulfillment in this moment, even before your desire appears in physical form. This does not mean denying that you want something. It means finding fulfillment in your present moment so that you are not desperately grasping for the future to be different. At the end of each day, find one thing, anything, for which you can feel genuine gratitude. The kind word someone spoke, a moment of beauty you witnessed, the comfort of your bed, the warmth of the sun on your face. By practicing the feeling of gratitude, you are practicing the feeling of fulfillment. And when you can find fulfillment in your present moment, you release the desperate need for the future to be different. In that release, the future is suddenly free to become what you have imagined. I remember a man who was desperately trying to manifest healing in his body. He was sick, in pain, and growing more anxious by the day. Every visualization of health was tainted with the desperate energy of I must get well or I will suffer forever. I taught him to find one thing each day for which he was genuinely grateful. Perhaps a moment when the pain lessened, or the kindness of a nurse, or the beauty of clouds outside his window. This practice gradually shifted him from the frequency of desperate lack to the frequency of grateful fulfillment. As he learned to feel fulfillment in his present moments, the desperate grasping for future health dissolved. And in that dissolution, his body began to heal in ways that surprised even his doctors. He had allowed healing by releasing the force of desperation. The fourth shift is building a mental sanctuary. This is a short, simple, imaginal scene that implies your wish is already fulfilled. Not the moment of receiving it, but a moment after. A moment that would only exist if your desire were already a fact. If you desire marriage, your scene could be as simple as feeling the weight of a wedding ring on your finger while washing your hands. If you desire career success, it could be a brief congratulatory conversation with a friend who says, "I always knew you would do it." This scene is your anchor. When the storms of doubt arise in your day, you do not fight the doubt. Fighting doubt only gives it more power. Instead, you simply retreat to your mental sanctuary for a few seconds, feel it real, and return to your day with faith restored. This is not forcing. This is gently reminding yourself of the truth you have chosen to live from. Now, a word of caution to keep you from undoing all your good work. First, you must resist the impulse to anxiously look for your desire in your outer world. Every time you check for proof with anxiety in your heart, you are performing a powerful imaginal act of doubt. You are impressing upon your subconscious the feeling that it is not here yet. And your subconscious, unfailingly loyal, accepts that feeling as your new command and creates more experiences of not here yet. Think of a baker who has placed a cake in the oven. He has done his part. He mixed the ingredients, poured the batter, set the temperature. Now he must trust the process. He does not open the oven door every 2 minutes to see if it has risen. To do so would let out the heat and ruin the cake. Your sustained assumption, your faith, is the heat that bakes your desire into reality. Once you have placed it in the oven of your imagination, you must leave the door closed. You must trust the process. I knew a woman who was manifesting a new home. She did her imaginal act beautifully. She felt herself in the home, walking through the rooms, feeling the satisfaction of ownership. But every day she would anxiously check real estate listings, desperately searching for signs that a home was coming. Each time she searched with anxiety, she was impressing her subconscious with lack rather than fulfillment. I told her, "You are baking a cake and opening the oven door every 5 minutes. You must trust that the process is working. Check listings if you feel inspired to do so, from a state of calm curiosity, but never from desperate anxiety." She learned to do her imaginal act at night, feel the satisfaction, and then go about her day without anxiously checking. Within a month, the perfect home appeared through an unexpected connection, not through her anxious searching. Second, do not discuss your desire with those who are not in sympathy with your aim. Your imaginal act is a tender new creation, a new state of consciousness. Exposing it to the cold winds of doubt and ridicule can chill your conviction, causing you to doubt your own creation. Keep your secret. Let it grow strong within you until it is ready to be born as a fact in your world. So what does this state of true allowing, of genuine detachment, actually feel like? Let me be clear. It is not apathy. It is not indifference. It is not giving up on your desire. In fact, it is the highest and most potent form of faith. It is the calm assurance of the farmer who has planted a seed in good soil. He does not fret. He does not dig it up each day to check if it is growing. He simply knows he has done his part, and the law of growth will do the rest. It is the feeling of having ordered a fine meal at a wonderful restaurant. You do not follow the waiter into the kitchen to make sure the chef is cooking. You simply relax at your table, enjoying the ambience, knowing that in due time your order will be served. It is the same assurance with which you know the sun will rise tomorrow. You do not wake each night in fear, wondering if the dawn will come. You simply know it will, and so you rest. In like manner, you must rest in the certainty of your desire fulfilled. Remember what I have taught you. Creation is finished. Everything that could ever exist already exists in the infinite realm of imagination. What you seek is not something you must create or force into being. It already is. You need only to accept it, to claim it, to assume it as yours. This state is a quiet inner peace, a release of all tension. You can think of your desire and you feel a gentle warmth, a quiet smile, not the anxious, desperate yearning of still wanting it, but the pleasant, familiar feeling of knowing it is already yours. Let me tell you about a final example that perfectly illustrates this state. A young artist came to me who had been desperately trying to manifest recognition for his work. He forced himself to paint every day. He anxiously submitted to every gallery. He checked his email constantly for responses. He was exhausted. His work was suffering, and success seemed further away than ever. I said to him, "You are chasing recognition like a hunter chasing a deer through the forest. The more violently you pursue, the faster it flees. You must become like a fragrant flower standing still in the garden, effortlessly drawing what you desire to you." I taught him to stop forcing his art, and instead to simply be an artist who was already recognized and valued, to create from that state of confidence rather than desperation, to submit his work when inspired, not when anxious, to rest in the assumption that recognition was already his in consciousness, whether or not it had appeared in form. The shift was remarkable. His art became more authentic, more powerful, because it was no longer tainted with the desperate energy of needing validation. Within 6 months, a major gallery discovered his work and offered him a solo exhibition. But by that time, he no longer desperately needed the recognition. He had already claimed it in consciousness, and the external recognition was simply the shadow following the substance. He had moved from being the frantic hunter to becoming the fragrant flower. He had stopped forcing and started allowing. This is the promise of allowing. This is the secret of letting it come. When you reach this state, you have moved from desperate grasping to magnetic attraction. You do not chase, you simply attract. You do not force, you simply allow. You do not struggle. You simply rest in the knowledge that it is done. Your desire is not somewhere in the future, waiting for you to work hard enough to deserve it. It exists right now in the dimension of imagination, and you claim it by assuming the feeling of already having it, not by forcing that feeling, but by gently, naturally, persistently dwelling in it until it becomes as natural as breathing. So tonight, I want you to examine your relationship with your desires. Are you forcing? Are you struggling? Are you desperately trying to make something happen through sheer effort and strain? If so, I invite you to release that grip. Let go of the cork and watch it rise to the surface effortlessly. Plant your seed and trust the law of growth. Order your meal and relax while it is prepared. Assume your desire is already yours in consciousness, and rest in that assumption with the quiet confidence of someone who knows the sun will rise tomorrow. Stop forcing it. Let it come. For in the letting go, you will find that what you have been chasing has been waiting all along for you to simply stop running and allow it to catch up to you. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and you are the operant power in your world. I'll see you in the next video.